It's time for a cup of coffee with Will and Chris at Slumberland Furniture. From Slumberland Furniture in Osage Beach, here are your hosts, William Holtz and Chris Schneider.
Guess who's back for this week's cup of coffee from
That's right.
Slumberland at the Lake?
It's me, Uncle C, baby.
He's going to tell us a little bit about his trip away. Plus, we're going to have Tom Abbott talk about the fire. You guys all saw about that, the Ozarks Amphitheater. But hey, show must go on.
Absolutely. They've got a very busy schedule, a whole lot of people coming in this summer, and this is just a little hiccup. They'll take care of this, no problem.
And you missed a busy week at the lake. We'll do a follow-up on the shooting that took place in Camdenton. We'll also follow up on the Camden County ATF situation. You saw that.
Yep.
Pretty big hitting news. And then the Niagara Falls properties, lots of questions.
How cool.
And I actually got to meet with the owner and the developer, Aaron Beatty. We'll talk about that. Plus, golf ball size hail. Anyone? Man, some crazy storms.
Yeah.
You were driving?
We were driving back from our vacation when that hit. Yeah.
We'll talk about that. Plus, you might like this. Have you seen the declining numbers on Bud Light?
Oh, yeah, and that kind of makes me happy.
Yeah, and I think that America is speaking here. We're going to talk about all that and a whole lot more. But first, this from Slumberland, and we come back, we'll have Tom Abbott from the Ozarks Amphitheater.
Hey everyone, Daryl Cunningham with Slumberland Furniture at the Lake. We're in the middle of our spring spruce up sale. What does that mean for you? That means savings for every room of your house. Also, check out our tent. Still have tons of great outdoor living furniture at a great price. At Slumberland, we're still doing interest-free financing along with our great deals. Come see us, Slumberland Furniture, where we're bringing happy home.
And as soon as Uncle Chris gets back from vacation, we kick him right back off the set. And as promised, my good buddy Tom Abbott from the Ozarks Amphitheater, the Director of Business Development. And normally, Tom, we get to have you, whether it's on Happy Hour or mic'd up or here on Cup of Coffee, with a good announcement. There's a new concert to announce.
Yep.
However, everyone out there has already seen, it's been all over the state, even the Midwest, and the untragic fire you guys went through with your offices and your concessions and bathrooms. And so I want to ask first what that process was like. Where were you guys at? How did you guys find out that the amphitheater was officially on fire?
Well, Thursday night, Mary Kay and I were off at Bear Bottom Resort having dinner and adult beverage. Got a phone call from Tyler Bishop from the Paint Doctor at about 10:12. Said, "Are you at the amphitheater, or is anybody in the building? Concession one's on fire." And we weren't. I was like, "I'll be there in about 20 minutes." So Matt Sutcliffe, who's 30 years in the fire service, he jumped up, we jumped up, Darren Kime and Laura, we all jumped up. Matt beat us there all by about 7 minutes because his fire service, and he jumped in, was taking charge of the situation when we got there. There were already fire trucks from Mid-County, Sunrise Beach, Lake Ozark, Osage Beach were already on scene. It was a 3-alarm fire. And our offices in our Concession 1 building were on fire, definitely. We saw them as we come around the corner, and it's a little disheartening to see something that you've worked so hard for going up in flames. But once like I said, the fire department was there, got it put out in about 45 minutes, and it looks like we're going to be able to salvage the bathrooms out of that, which is a huge expense and also a huge portion of the areas of the amphitheater that we need to have operational. And just earlier this week, the insurance company was there. The owners are on site currently, and we have contractors that looking at like, all right, what's going to take to demolish what's already burnt, rebuild back what we can rebuild, and be open by May 11th for the Breaking Benjamin and Bush concert.
And I mean, that's the crazy thing was so many questions. I think first and foremost, because of your guys' roots in the community and the closeness, I think everyone's first concern was about you guys, Mary Kay, the dogs.
Yep.
And, that's so many calls I know.
They knew we were okay. The second question was, where were the dogs? Because a lot of times, obviously, the dogs are in the office with us. But this happened at 10 o'clock at night, and the dogs were safely put away in the motorhome. So thank God that, nothing happened to them. And a lot of this, we were able to salvage some stuff. There's some stuff that's irreplaceable. Mary Kay had a lot of mementos and stuff from her grandfather and father, and some stuff from her kids' childhood that you won't be able to replace. But we're still looking to get in there. The fire didn't really get into the the east end of the building as much. So we're looking to salvage some stuff once the insurance company gives us the go-ahead.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize, after I knew you guys and Jax and Dutch, the dogs were good, that was my next thought, was Mary Kay's basically lived in that office, you know, the last 8 years, and so she did have a lot of stuff.
Yep.
But so for you guys now, the reality is in show business and the entertainment business, the saying goes, the show must go on. And as we look at drone footage here that we saw on Facebook of the remains and what is left right now, that is apparently the mindset you guys have. The show must go on. So talk to us about that.
Yeah, we've already have plans again to save the bathrooms, put a temporary structure up for concessions. We've moved our offices into a building that we already had, the Van Hook's Bait and Tackle building. And so, you know, as of Monday, earlier this week, we had internet, we had phones, we have computers, went and got some desks. So those are getting set up today, on Wednesday. And so we're business as usual from that standpoint. We just got a little bit of charred remains to get cleared out, get hauled off, and get back to construction. But we're confident that we can have those bathrooms in place and a concession stand up before the May 11th show.
Now, there's one thing that people watching, if you guys know Mary Kay and Tom, you know you guys are the glass is half full kind of people, and I love for you guys. Is it a blessing knowing that as crazy as this is and the timing could have been a little later in the year or it could have been a different part of the venue, but having the Van Hook's building and being able to keep operations moving, you guys got to feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, it took us 48 hours to formulate this plan, and we talked about moving into the Van Hook's building anyway with a permanent office because it's closer to the road. We can have it year round. We have to winterize our offices because the plumbing is exposed with our garage underneath. So it really, it forced us to make a decision that we should have made 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So out of necessity becomes invention. So yeah, we're moved in there. It's getting repainted, rewired, and we'll do a little updating on it over the winter time to make it more permanent. But we're excited. We announced a show earlier this week with Skillet and Theory of a Dead Man. And 10 years is the opener for that. So we got a 3-band bill for September the 1st. We've got a couple of comedians yet to announce and a few more shows that we're still in the works.
Did I see the Blues Travelers?
Yep, Blues
just announced too.
Yep, Blues Traveler with Big Head Todd and the Monsters.
Man, I'm telling you
the
what.
The Blues Monster Tour, they call it.
It's just crazy for me. We were doing 4 or 5 years ago, announcements and so excited about the 6 and 7 shows. And now to see this lineup right here with all of these monster acts coming right here to the lake, I'm glad that you guys are the ones running this and that you're not going to let this temporary situation slow you down, because you guys always say it's going to be the best summer ever, and I really do believe that is going to be true.
Well, the community has certainly jumped in behind us, whether it be on the business side of it or the patron side of it, the ticket buyers, everybody's jumped in. Anything we can do, everything we can do. DJ Kyle called and said, we'll come cook for the work crews. He wants to flip hamburgers for a couple hundred people that are going to be out there helping us clean up. So we're blessed. This is a setback. It's a 2-pronged attack. One, we're still working on everything we need to do to get open by May 11th, just the general amphitheater and the surrounding areas, the parking, gates, ticketing, all of that stuff. And then we have a separate, crew that's working on the restoration and demolition.
Well, keep up the great work. Of course, we were sad to see this, but happy to see you guys continue to truck along. Visit them at ozarksamp.com. Tickets still on sale for a lot of these upcoming shows. Tom, thank you so much for your time, my friend.
Thank you, Will.
We'll take a break and be right back with the rest of this week's Cup of Coffee.
Here comes the summer at the Lake of the Ozarks, and you need a new boat. Well, in comes Surdike Yamaha just in time. It's Surdike Spring Demo Days the weekend of Friday, April 21st through the 23rd. Stop by Surdike Port 20 to demo new and used inventory featuring Wave Runners, G3s, 4Winds, and all the brands you've learned to trust with Surdike. It's Surdike Yamaha Spring Demo Days.
All right, man, that was a sad deal. You saw the pictures in the video.
Yep.
I mean, and I'm sure like me, your first thought was like, everybody okay?
I was shocked, and we were on vacation. We saw the news, and we're like, what's this going to do for the summer schedule and all that stuff? So I'm really glad to hear that they've got this under control. They've got a plan. Everything should be all right.
Fantastic. Now, speaking of vacation, Talk to us about it. Where'd you guys go? What'd you do? How was it, man?
So we went to Kentucky. I know, Kentucky, right? And I'd been through Kentucky several times, business trips mostly, but never really been there to enjoy it. So a couple of our friends from church and Mrs. Uncle C and I, we went on the Bourbon Trail, right? So, and we're not huge drinkers or anything, but we'd heard this is kind of a fun thing to do, go and see and kind of see how it's done and all that. And it was really, really interesting. So we went to 3 or 4 of these bourbon houses, bourbon makers each day that we were there. Like first day we were at Maker's Mark and then Heaven Hill and then Willet.
Like big name whiskey.
Big name whiskeys and stuff like that. And the grounds just of a lot of these places are gorgeous, just huge green grounds and rivers running through it and the buildings were beautiful and stuff like that. And we learned a lot. We learned how, because we don't know how you do that, how they make whiskey and how they take the corn and the wheat and the rye and the barley and put it all together and how that all works. I mean, I didn't know any about it. So we were learning about that. They had big old vats of stuff that they're brewing up. I think they call it alcohol beer or something like that. Yeah, and they can turn that into whiskey or beer. So, I mean, we're learning all this stuff, and it was pretty neat. And, of course, there were a few tastings, and like I say, we're not big drinkers, so I had a headache every night, So that part of it wasn't fun. But the rest of it was really kind of a neat to learn all that. Like alcohol will evaporate at like 173 degrees. Water doesn't evaporate until, 220. So that's how they get the alcohol out of the liquid. So we learned that. So and then at the end we went to the Ark.
I saw some pictures you sent.
Yeah. So and that's in Kentucky as well. So it's a full-size replica.
Like full scale, like that was the size of Noah's Ark?
Right, from what, is told in the Bible of how big it was and how it was made and all that stuff. So you got this full-size, full-scale replica of the Ark from the Bible. So we had to go see that, right?
How big?
Big. It's like, I don't know, what would it be? Like 2 football fields or something like that long? So we went up and in it and around it, and there's like 4 different levels, and they're explaining in the Ark, how this, how it could have worked, because the Bible doesn't really tell us how they fed the animals and all that stuff, and so they kind of have their ideas of how that was all done. It's fascinating stuff.
I wonder how he built that before he had the equipment and machine. That's how great God is.
Yeah.
When he ordains and anoints a man to do his work. It is wild because back in that day, you didn't have the equipment and the machines and, the cranes. And, so it's fascinating. A boat that big, you got to see, probably took man and their equipment a long time to construct that project.
Well, they say it took him somewhere between 75 and 100 years to build the Ark, right? So he was working on it for a long time, 75 to 100 years. And there's huge trees basically used as beams in this thing. So you're right. How they did that, it had to be by the weight and pulley system, I'm guessing.
How fascinating.
Yeah, it
in
was
Kentucky,
really cool.
I want to go see that now.
There you go. And it was really beautiful. Kentucky's a beautiful state. Really, the rolling hills and the bluegrass and the horse farms. Because that's where they run the Kentucky Derby and stuff like that. So it was fun. It was a good time.
So was it hard getting back?
Not really. We went with some friends, so we changed off on the driving and stuff like that. And it's like 7-hour drive, 8-hour drive, so not too bad. We did hit the big storm, with the hail coming back on Saturday.
Did you have hail?
At our house we didn't, but we had to pull under an overpass while it was hailing, right over by High Brothers, that overpass. So we were blessed that we found that cover just in time.
Yeah, speaking of those storms, glad you made it back because there's some crazy weather that's been sweeping through really the Midwest here, and there was a warning Thursday on Lake Expo. The National Weather Service warned that there was going to be large hail and damaging winds up to 70 miles per hour. And Friday, of course, that came to fruition. We see here some video, this courtesy of Bill Smith, who lives just south of Camdenton. A few of his photos as well, Chris. And we're talking golf ball size hail. Now, where I was at my house in Sunrise Beach, they were just little pebble size. hail. But it was crazy to see, and all the photos and videos people were sharing on Facebook and social media, it got crazy, and it got crazy quick, but it seemed to come and go pretty quick as well.
Yeah, those storms are so scary because you don't really, and this one came with those high winds and the hail and the heavy rain, and whenever you get that, you're worried because you don't know what you're going to get. Is there going to be a tornado, or, is this hail going to be golf ball size or softball size hail and get somebody hurt? So in that sense, it wasn't as bad as it could have been, but it was still bad enough.
Yeah, it was scary. I know for us, Unique and Brentley were on their way back from my nephew's birthday party, and it got scary enough. I had to go get them. I mean, it was bad. Yeah, there was crazy weather. But luckily, no tornadoes, it didn't look like in our area, because typically with hail, that's the fear, right? That those green skies and that hails could produce tornadoes, but none of that. So you made it back, you made it through the storm, and now it's back to business, huh?
Yeah, and thanks to JR for sitting in for me last week. He did a fantastic job. What a great guest host he was.
Yeah,
huh?
he's awesome.
Yeah.
We'll see. Next week, just to let you guys know, I'm not going to be here.
Yeah, he's going to be on vacation.
With another guest host, people are going to start being like, we're Will and
what
Chris.
is going on here? Yeah.
All right, so one of the stories while you were gone that Jay and R kind of talked about, we didn't get into details because I didn't know a whole lot, but there was a shooting last Sunday night, and there's been some charges filed. William Ray Allen, 35, was charged with third-degree assault, and Marion Ropey, 27, was charged with unlawful use of a weapon after an altercation with law enforcement left the officer with a shoulder injury and Ropey in the hospital with abdominal gunshot wound. So this investigation, it was ongoing. It was turned over to the Missouri State Highway Patrol because the Camdenton officer that had fired the shots, there was lots of things said on social media. There's lots of things from comments about stolen valor to weapons and things, but the officer for Camdenton was put on administrative leave per policy of the department, and it was handed over to the Missouri State Highway Patrol. So I actually reached out to the Missouri State Highway Patrol, and I got a hold of Corporal Kyle Green, who is the public information officer for our area, and he said to reach out to the prosecutor's office in Camden County to access the probable cause statement, which led me to believe that their investigation had been completed if they had already offered a probable cause statement to the prosecutor's office. So I did that, and the prosecutor's office told me to reach out to the circuit clerk. The circuit clerk told me to go to CaseNet, and I was like,
Well, they're
interesting.
just chasing your tail there, huh?
Correct.
Yeah.
And I also reached out to the Camdenton Police Department for comment on this officer, making sure he's okay. Also, is he back to work? Now, we're not going to know anything until we get a hold of this probable cause statement and something is ruled on. But there was a lot of things on Facebook being said and a lot of misinformation, it appeared. But did you see the story, and what was your take?
I didn't see it while we were out of town. I just saw it yesterday for the first time when you sent it to me. It's very fascinating. Camdenton police responded to complaints of a verbal argument at the McDonald's in Camdenton on 54 there. So I'm sure there were quite a few people. I mean, we've been there eating before. Most everybody in Camdenton has been there before. So they saw this Allen and Ropey wearing military clothing that matched the description of those involved in the argument. According to the documents, Allen and Ropey initially refused to identify themselves to police. They'd been accused of not being military, but trying to act like military. And then it just escalated from there. They wouldn't stand down, and then it got ugly. Glad nobody more bystanders or something like that were hurt, because that's a pretty scary situation right there in such a public place with so many innocent people around. So kind of sounds like the officers involved handled it well. Again, it's hard to tell from what little we know about it now.
One thing, we know that the two involved in this altercation do have mental disabilities, or one does, and one is blind. So there are some other situations and variables there. And there were some comments online that I saw that the initial stop was due to potential stolen valor or valor, but unless you're trying to take advantage of a discount or perks or benefits, it's not actually illegal to wear military uniform. So, I mean, it gets tricky there. That's why I wanted to get a hold of that probable cause statement before we did too much reporting, because at this point, just like you guys, we're kind of in the dark. We'll keep you guys updated as we know more. I just hope this young lady is okay. It sounded like a tough situation and the officer had to fire, but I'm sure more will come of this.
I'm sure. Yeah, we'll get more information on this. Allen is charged with third-degree assault, special victim, and that is a Class D felony. Ropey charged with unlawful use of a weapon. That is a Class E felony. So that's what they're looking at right now. So
we will keep you posted. Okay, next story, another big one. While you were gone, you saw the ATF had reached out to Camden County, P&Z, and said, hey, we need some information on the arms dealers in your area.
Yeah.
And so Camden County, they responded in a big way. You saw that. They had the press conference and basically just said, hey, ATF, not only is your organization unconstitutional, but if you're asking our government agencies to coerce and break statute, because there's statute that won't allow this information to be given, they'll have to pay a $50,000 fine if they give information. It's against statute. It says, listen, you want this information, come get it. We are not honoring you as a real organization. We're calling you unconstitutional, and we're telling you we're not giving you what you're asking for. And I talked to Presiding Commissioner Ike Skelton Sunday night for about 30 minutes, and I asked him, since you guys came out with this, I've seen a ton of media attention, right? Mm-hmm. Today he's going to be on the Glenn Beck radio show.
Wow.
I mean, it was picked up by KCTV and the Kansas City Star and Springfield and Arkansas stations, and I think it's great. Because when you see your elected officials who are not afraid to go with the flow and actually protect the constitutional rights, it could have a trickle effect.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, there's a county that actually did stand up and refuse to cooperate and allow people or the government to infringe upon their constituents' rights. So here's what he said. As a matter of fact, the ATF hasn't said anything. He said it's gotten lots of coverage, and I'm not sure that I do expect him to do anything right away. He did tell me that there was 4 local businesses they were looking into and asking information about. He did provide the initial email sent from the ATF, which they sent their letter back to. We showed you guys last week. We'll put it up there again. It's a strong letter written by the county to the ATF, and on top of that, it's endorsed by everybody from all 3 commissioners, including our sheriff, and then also Kendra Hicks and Joe Green. Joe Green's the county attorney, and Kendra Hicks the county treasurer. But at that point in time, nothing come back, and he says, I don't want to give any information on the 4 businesses they were inquiring, but I will tell you, one was a local business that's been around for a while. They had a year and a half left until they'll need to renew their license, so the ATF had no reason to be asking questions about them. And the other of the 2 he shared with me, Chris, was an individual who is a custom gun modifier. That's why he has his FFL. People will send him old rifles and he'll put different parts or pieces or replacement on it, right? And he has to be able to send those back, which requires an FFL. Well, he just renewed his FFL at the end of last year, meaning he's not going to have to renew again until 2025. So Presiding Commissioner Ike Skelton says, I call your BS, ATF. You have no reason to be asking questions about this. And he wanted everyone to know that as our elected officials, our county, they're not backing down to the ATF and any government entity, and they will not allow these government entities to infringe upon their constitutional rights that they voted these individuals in for, and they're willing to protect those at all cost. That's a strong move, Chris.
Yeah,
and one that could come with consequence maybe down the road. I asked Presiding Commissioner Skelton, do you see a potential retaliatory action or them not liking to be made a mockery of in public? I mean, this was very public, very vocal. Do you fear that? And he said, if they do something, our county's going to be ready to handle the consequences. He said, but knowing the way the ATF works, he said, we're not going to see it coming, so they're going to try to do something under the table. They're going to try to have their undercover agents places. He said, but the county will be ready. And you remember, Presiding Commissioner Ike Skelton is familiar with the ATF, who raided his brother's business back in 21, Skelton Tactical. So I asked him if he had a follow-up on that. Currently serving 12-month probation. He had to admit that whatever he did was wrong. He'll never get his FFL back, meaning he'll never be able to sell guns again. And there's no guarantee that he'll ever get his $200,000 in arms back. And so we have a little taste of how the ATF works and what they're capable of. And so our county and our officials are saying we're not backing down.
And it's not just the ATF, it's the whole government now. It's kind of been weaponized. It's very scary. We're in a very, very scary time in our country. If you haven't noticed, we're in the middle of a civil war right now. The bullets aren't flying yet, but that doesn't make it any less than a civil war. This war, to this point, is a legal war. I mean, all this legal stuff, look at what they're trying to do to Trump and all that stuff. They're trying to weaponize the legal system, and they've been using that for the last 5, 6, 10 years probably. It's a war in the media. You know, the media will tell you everything going on now is nothing to see here. It's pretty normal. It's not normal. It's very unnormal. Things are really, really scary. And you see what Camden County is doing, stepping up against Big Brother, the federal government. It's just scary stuff. Yeah. And I think we all kind of knew this was coming, but we didn't know the front lines was going to be here in Camden County. And on this issue, the front lines is here in Camden County. Camden County is standing up against the federal government, and that's a scary thing because the federal government is big, bad, and terrifying.
No doubt about it. So as we wait, I told Presiding Commissioner Skelton I'd love to stay in touch with him. He does almost a monthly appearance on Happy Hour with DJ Kyle, but I said, I want to know what you hear back. When you guys make this bold stance, which I love to see, what do they respond with? Nothing at this point, but I anticipate something's going to be coming back at some point.
Sure, absolutely. And whatever it is, like you said, it'll probably be quiet under the table until it comes out. But who can stop them?
Right.
Really, I mean, they can pretty much do whatever they want to do at this point.
All right, so our next local story, Chris, while you were gone, you live close to it. We've seen work going on. We knew Big Thunder about it a while back and then sold again. Well, introducing Aaron Beatty, who is the owner and developer, a younger guy from the Kansas City area. He's a restaurateur. He has different businesses. But I got to meet with him and see his blueprint, which I can't show you guys. He asked that I didn't show anybody because it's not 100% final. But this guy is sharp. He's got a really cool idea. It's going to be family friendly. You're going to have up to 12 different options and rotating food trucks. There's going to be a stage. And what I loved is everything there is repurposed. Yeah. He's using a boat for the stage, a tri-tune. He's using shipping containers for his bars. And the coolest thing to me was there's going to be like a 40 by 80 artificial turf splash park for the kids right there lakeside. And so it's going to be a place to have drinks and eat a lot of cool different food that everybody can get something different. But the family's going to be able to come by, and it's going to be neat.
This is at the old Niangua Falls, right there at the bridge over in the Greenview area over the Niangua, on the 2-mile marker of the Niangua, I believe. So, yeah, this is going to be exciting. It's right around the corner from where the cave is, just on the other side of the bridge. Is this going to be permanent? Is he planning on doing this permanently, or is he planning on doing this for the first year and building a big restaurant the second year, did he say?
No, this is going to be the plan. This is going to be a place where he's going to have a stationary restaurant that's always there anytime they're open, and that he'll have the bars there. And then the food trucks come in, and here's what I thought was cool. Not even sure I'm supposed to say this. The food trucks won't pay. There will be a setup where they get a commissary kitchen, they get water, they get power, they get trash, they get dishes cleaned, and all they do is give a percentage of their sales. It's a very low percent, and they can stay there. They can sleep there. There's all kinds of things. So these food trucks are going to be coming in from all over the Midwest because they can stay lakeside for a small percentage of their sales, have great views, great customer base, and one of the first ones like it. There's other ones like it, he said, but not one quite like this. And he hopes... Yeah,
Motor Boaters Park?
Motor Boaters Park.
Right.
You sandbagging son of a gun, you. It's right off of Wedding Crashers. I asked him. But here's what's cool. He said he hopes to have a soft opening by Memorial Day of this year.
Wow, that's coming fast.
I said, you're crazy, bro.
They've been working hard over there.
That's going to do it for this week's Cup of Coffee from Slumberland at the Lake.